The FNRad Snowboarding Podcast is sponsored by Wired Snowboards. Lucky listener Todd Maskovich won a custom graphic Wired Vantage, which is the board I rode this weekend with Terje. It's a directional board with amazing edge hold, and it's super fun to ride. You can get a Wired snowboard at boardroomshop.com or order your own custom graphic Wired board, like I just did for my 15-year-old son, at wiredsnowboards.com. Support also comes from Grouse Mountain, Vans snowboarding boots, and Dakine. I've been loving my Vans boots and Dakine outerwear this weekend, especially the Gore-Tex pants that Brian sent me. Thanks a lot, Brian. My friend Andy works with Beaver Wax, and I have to say, without it, I don't think I would have been able to keep up with Terje and the boys. Wax your board often and use Beaver Wax if you can. Okay, here's this week's show.
It was a totally fun time, didn't get too gnarly.
I kind of look at the Mystery Air as an improved evolution of the Switchblade.
Snowboarding is ours.
And obviously I like working with Burton. As an old school snowboarder, you get so used to being treated as a second-class citizen.
And I was like, how do you spell your last name? He said Kelly. And I was like, oh, we should get married. And he's like, no, too symmetrical.
Hey listeners, it's Eric talking to you from the road. I'm in a hotel in Revelstoke making sure this episode gets up on time. I just came back from Banff where I had an interview with Terje and I'm super stoked about how it went. Friday night I drove up to Revi from Vancouver and got there just in time to celebrate the opening of the Sugar Shack, a new business that sells treats in downtown Revelstoke. Karaoke at the Legion was going off and I bumped into Isaac, shout out to Isaac, a listener of the show, and a friend of Nick from Salmon Arms, who I'm always talking about. Saturday I drove into Banff, and I have to say, that stretch of highway is the most beautiful I've ever driven. It's like mountains on either side, covered in snow, beautiful and massive. I got to Banff, I soaked in the hot springs Saturday night, and I planned to meet Terje for breakfast on Sunday morning. And when he showed up, he was with Nicholas Mueller and a couple more Swiss dudes. So we crewed up and we rode Sunshine Resort for the day, and I cannot express how fun that was. It was amazing. So after dinner, I convinced Terje to come back to the hotel to sit down and record this interview before he had to prepare for heliboarding at the Bobby Burns Lodge the next day.
I think I got pretty lucky and privileged early age. I'd start doing some European Cups early in 89-90 season, and did a World Cup, and then I went to the States, did the US Open and the World Championships, and I was still in 9th grade in school, and that's the mandatory we have to do. Yeah. But I think I had over 30 days away from school that season.
And were your teachers pissed?
No, they're like, my English grades went up. Not at all.
And you mentioned that the U.S. guys, maybe not that year, maybe the next year, were like, oh, we don't want Scandinavians in our contest.
No, it was not it was just like, they thought, I don't know, you should ask somebody who really know what happened.
Yeah, like Ted Martin or somebody.
But it was just like, US Open should be only people from the US. That is ridiculous.
That's strange because the US
open.
It's open.
So I don't even want to talk about it. You should have to really talk to whoever made that decision. Yeah. So that was like a year we didn't do the US Open.
How many people would you estimate were professional snowboarders at, in the 90, 91 season kind of thing? Like hundreds or?
Wow. Yeah, good question. Can't remember, but probably in the hundreds, yeah.
Right, because you guys, everybody would know everybody. Like you go back far enough to those days, like 88, there's literally like dozens, right? Like it's like every pro in the world would go to an event and it would be like 50 people or something.
What year?
Like 88 or 88.
Well, I don't know 88 in the international level, but like I rode with a guy, Einar Loftus, he rode in 88 and stuff, but like, yeah, for sure, but like the World Cups wouldn't, I'm not sure how it worked before 90, because 90 was when I started, and I think it was different quotes. You can kind of like, I don't know like how we got into the contest, but I had to actually get points to do the World Cup.
Right.
So there's some kind of systems. It's not like and when I did Norwegian contest too, it was like in my like under 16 class, it was like we were over 40 people.
Whoa.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So snowboarding was blowing up.
Yeah.
That's kind of when I was really getting into it too. Yeah, I guess regionally we would have regional contests that would get a couple hundred people. So to qualify for World Cup events, you'd have to get points at other recognized
I did
events.
a European Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rad. Who were the guys to beat in like those first few years? It was Craig mostly, huh?
Well, it's a lot of guys to beat for me at least. Yeah, like different like like not everybody's at every contest or
Right.
together.
Were any of those dudes like super like dickish to you, like a Palmer or somebody?
No, I can start a little earlier. That like when I did like European Cup stuff, like a lot of people think, well, like there was not that many like freestyle guys from Europe, and it was not, but the guys who were really good, and like Max Perotti, he would like come top 5, in the 89 and 88 even. Redo Lam,
Yeah.
Camille Richet,
Oh yeah.
Switzerland.
Yeah.
And they were up there in like the top 5, and then I think the Scandinavians came later with Einar Loftus and Cedric Cornell and some of the Finnish guy. It's a skater from Sweden, Ant,
But nobody gave you any grief for being like a little kid, because you were like the original sort of like Shaun White.
No, the only guy who tried to like psych you out was Jimmy Scott. No, but seriously, but he tried to do that on everybody who was new. It was not just because I was, everybody who was new and dropped into pipe. He tried to like, drop in behind him. But like Pablo was always telling me, like when Jimmy goes, you go after him. Just make sure you go bigger than him. So he was.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's what we do. Like if somebody drops, just drop close right behind him and just
go bigger,
psych him out like that.
That's amazing. So in these years, is it mostly contests, like, or are you free riding a lot in between? Like, are contests like 5% of the year, or a contest like 95% of the year?
I think it was pretty even. It was not that many contests those times anyway. I think it was more starting, maybe from 92, 93 it started to be more, I think. Or maybe I just got a different perspective of it because there was contests in Japan, Europe, and the States. Not everything was like a Calder World Cup too,
Right.
And
were the contests more fun back then? Was there a lot more?
I don't know. It depends how you look at it. I'm sure there's a lot of people who have fun at contests right now.
Yeah.
And then the serious factors, and like people are like, oh, people are more professional. People was professional back then too.
Yeah.
But I think there was less people, like more people was just not taking it that seriously. But at the same time, there's guys who was, that would train regularly, do things, and definitely not a lot of coaches around because the whole thing was more new, and you almost had to just look at skateboard tricks, to learn stuff.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Where was your favorite place to ride in those early years? Like, was there somewhere where you went where you're like, holy shit, this is just amazing, I could live here?
Obviously, like Central Europe is just such a big difference from Southeast Norway, where I come from, where we mostly have hills and kind of like Vermont mountains. So every time you go down there, if you're on the Italian side, Austrian side, Swiss side. But like since I was hanging out with a lot of Swiss guys, I went a lot to Engadine Valley, St. Moritz area, and Switzerland.
Pretty beautiful.
But then it would be like an hour over to Italy. It would be like an hour to Austria. So, yeah. And then I think, yeah, a little later I start traveling more. Start going to Mount Baker and stuff, and BC.
Who would you ride with at Baker back in those early days?
Whoever
was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we did a few trips with Gooch there.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yes, is that like, how does Baker compare to, like, you know, Switzerland or somewhere like that?
Well, you can't really compare them.
They're completely different, right?
Well, it's the snow. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
The people there were pretty awesome too, hey? Like, Baker's always had that kind of open-minded, you know, like, just go where you go kind of idea.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Northwest resorts, like, they're not too big, and they get so much snow that, you know, the snow can really pack everything down anyway.
Yeah.
So that's that's why a lot of good free riders are from that area.
Yeah. Yeah, mini Alaska is kind of, I mean, I've heard people say that, well, Mike Rankwit said that, you know, when they went to Alaska, they're like, oh, this is just like big Mount Baker. You know, like, there's exposure at Mount Baker that you need to be aware of. But I mean, everyone that went to Alaska that I've talked to, except for Al Clark, they were like shitting their pants while they were up there. Like, the lines were big. Like, it's hard to go to bed and fall asleep and think, oh fuck, tomorrow we're going to be on this ridge or on this terrain. How did you feel up there?
I don't know. Maybe I was too young to be scared the first time. No, you get really quickly respect for shit there. Yeah, it's totally different from anything else. It's like, I was never like, you go down a mountain and it's so huge, and you just have over half of the way to go down still. And like, you know, like, yeah, you can do that other places, but it was just like, not with the heli drops and so.
Did you feel pressure to, you know, put down crazy parts, or like, you know, to challenge yourself on lines maybe that you could see that would look really good, but that you were like, fuck, I don't know?
Not really. We're like, my first trip I was there with Mike Hatchett, and I just knew he had already some experience up there, and it was more like just like, wow, we're riding the best terrain in the world. It was like every run we did, like, oh, that was the best one, that was the best one, that's the best one. And I don't know, like, I think maybe the second time or whatever, like, you think more about like progression. I think it was just, you know, I didn't think too technical on riding some of these mountains. It was more like, you just want to get down. You don't want to get caught in the slough, or you just want to get down. So a little different type of riding, but then we hit features too. But yeah, it was a different mind game, and I think everybody we met at the airport that was leaving was just super happy. They had the best time of their life, but at the same time they were just happy to leave.
Oh, happy to leave.
Yeah.
I thought you meant just happy from being up there. Like, yeah, that was the greatest.
Both, you know,
yeah.
But extremely stoked to leave too. So that kind of puts it in a good perspective how, like, yeah, you want to experience, but you know how gnarly it is too.
Were you up there with Noah in those early Hatchet years?
No, never got to go there with Noah. That would be amazing though.
Yeah.
He really put some time up there, and him and Aaron Vincent had some great parts from up there. Yeah,
really great parts, right. Were you friends with him outside of Alaska? Like, did you ride with him different places?
We would not ride a lot together because, well, he did some pipe contests, and but like filming wise, I remember like we both stay in Tahoe and we go to dinners, but we wouldn't, like, we'd be different groups. So I think only a few times we had a session that way.
He was a really, like, genuinely nice guy, hey?
Oh yeah, super nice, humble.
Yeah.
He took me skating a lot. That's what we did.
Rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an incredibly talented skater. Like pro skater.
Yeah.
He was one of the only guys who was a pro skater, pro snowboarder.
Mm-hmm.
Rad. So where were you based out of all this time? Like Oslo the whole time?
Kind of like before I got my apartment. Well, I spent a lot of time in Central Europe for like my starting years, and then I started hanging out with Brian Iguchi, and then I kind of had my second base in Southern California for a little bit.
Rad.
I was there for a little bit, and then I got an offspring with a island lady, and then I went to Hawaii for a little bit. And then I got more kids, and then I moved back to Norway, had the base. So my base has been spread out a little bit, but
How do you balance life and
it's
kids?
never been a base at a mountain.
Never. You've never moved to like a mountain town and been like, I'm here for the season or whatever.
Mm-hmm. But I would think too is like certain people do sports and stuff, like if you compare to soccer players, and some of the guys that's been sitting on the bench a lot has longer careers because they don't wear and tear so much. And if I were living in resorts, I'd probably ride a lot more than I would be only if I did travels, or I'll be home with my kids. So
Right.
it's kind of not. Probably saved me a little bit too, not being a 120% mountain go.
Well, you've talked too that you were cautious, like you didn't go. If it was dangerous, you didn't do it, right? Like,
yeah, that's what we like to think we know and follow. But like that's hard to predict. But obviously, like if you can't, it was more like if you can, see you can do it, then you shouldn't try it.
Right.
Yeah, so it's more like a visual thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a visual tricks. If you can't picture yourself doing it, then you probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good indicator for sure. Have you had like major injuries over the years? I don't remember hearing of any like, season ruining years for you.
No, I haven't been complete out for a season, but I've had a couple of things, or always had a couple of things.
Yeah.
But been, really lucky with a lot of things. A lot of injuries, impact injuries. So I had like prolapse in lower back, mid back, internal bleeding in one of my lower backs one time.
Oh.
Hit a rock and broke my ankle one time, not too long ago actually. But that was like all those injuries healed pretty fast.
You seem pretty in tune with your body. Like, you're not the kind of guy who goes to a doctor and gets a prescription for pain meds or whatever.
No, I haven't been that much pain either. But it is a good thing, because if you do take just light pain medicine, you can't really feel where you have to fix yourself.
Right.
Yeah. So, like.
No, it's
probably shouldn't. Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense than what's going on. Like people are taking heavy pain meds for light pain.
Yeah.
And then they're stuck in this cycle where they can't function without pain meds.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's another. But I think it's just important to feel the pain when you can fix it. If not, it's really hard to fix if you're always just using medicine.
Yeah. Right.
To not feel it.
When did you first start worrying about nutrition and stuff as well? Not worrying about it, but like being, like, were you brought up pretty?
Yeah, like there's some. Well, my dad is a chef and he cooks a lot of traditionals, but he also is a fisher and a hunter. But at the same time, I don't know, like they follow, what do you call it? The system or trends or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like he will cook way different than me in a way. If you travel and you see other culture, do a lot of cooking. But I met like older guys in like not just snowboarding, other sports too. That was just telling me that, yeah, nutrition is like the most important thing for, longevity and whatever you want to do. And that's just really logical.
Yeah.
So, but at the same, like I did, like before I met people, I started drinking Coca-Cola really early.
Right.
Like there's like I'm not drinking my Coke when I was 12, I think.
Oh, you stopped drinking. I thought you said started drinking.
Oh yeah, no.
No, you were like, this is gross or whatever. This is.
Yeah, we did a school project and
Ah.
put some things in there overnight. And
teeth. I remember putting teeth in Coca-Cola when I was a kid and they were gone. You're like, that is not supposed to happen. That's crazy. Yeah, that's... All right, let's think. What did I just have? Oh, yeah. You mentioned your dad. And I was thinking about that story you told me about the first time you ever tried snowboarding. Where was that? Was that in, like, Colorado or something?
That was my dad's first US Open. And he came over with a couple other guys. But young guys, at least 10, 15 years younger than my dad. And then there was a guy who was probably maybe a little older than my dad, but a little more sporty than my dad, I think. And I was going down the lift, and then I was going down, and then I heard somebody yell from the lift, and over me was my dad with a snowboard. I was like, oh no. But he managed how to learn it.
Yeah, and you were saying that he had good style.
Yeah, he actually had
That's
I was
super
really surprised.
Dope. Yeah.
But he was 50, I think.
And that was his first time setting foot on a snowboard. Does he still recreationally?
So, yeah, but I think we took a couple of runs a few years ago, but he had like a brain stroke. So I'm definitely making sure it's really soft.
Yeah. Is he all right? Is he?
Yeah, he was lucky. It was a quick one. It didn't really affect him too much.
Yeah.
But he jumped on the snow skate too.
What?
Yeah.
Really rad.
Just like, when you hike up and just go down, just to try it. Yeah.
Do you force your kids to snowboard?
Oh yeah, of course.
Me too. I do.
I don't. I wish I could take it more though. Both of my youngest, they like it, and they're pretty good for how little they go. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same. My kids, I trick them into doing it.
Yeah, but there's no trophy child in my guys. They have their hobbies already, and I can only do so much to get them on snow.
Right. Did you get pushed by your family a little bit?
No, never.
It was like the fact that you had a big brother, right? Like you're always chasing like the older guys.
Yeah, my whole little neighborhood is more like older guys than guys my age.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, my dad is a chef, so I don't know, he definitely didn't push me to do sports, because the more sports I did, the more expensive it was for him. But he was a little, since I was pretty good in a couple of them, he was a little pissed that when I quit skiing and I kind of quit soccer too. Yeah, he was just like, what do you like to do? What do you ride on that stick for?
And then Burton is paying you to go. So was that the first time that you'd ever traveled outside of, to North America? Was when you were 15 by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that was I don't know, I did some traveling, I had a cousin in Oslo, auntie in Oslo, and I don't know, I did, and my other auntie, I already did some traveling.
By yourself?
Not a lot, but
I
felt like that was my chance to go to the States. I had to fly alone.
Were you excited, to go to the States? Was that something that you...
Yeah, you've seen it in videos and heard about it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So going to US Open in Stratton for the first time, that was my first trip. It was amazing. You know, I saw that was the year of the yellow pants too. So like,
Yeah.
from the condo we stayed up, and I walked over and tried to find where the pipe was. I probably saw like 200 yellow pants and 150 Craig Kellys.
Yeah. Those boards were like the only
Yeah,
board.
not only the board, but like the tucked in knee and the cam plates.
Yeah, canteen
Yeah.
plates. I forgot about that.
And I was one of them too. So
You would wear camp plates?
Yeah.
His mom told me a story over Messenger that when he was a baby, he had really bowed legs. So they like strapped his feet with like some apparatus to like a board to like push his knees together. And he used to like, this was when he was like a baby. So he would like flip himself out of his crib on like with this board stuck to his feet and like shuffle around the house. And I think it probably had a lasting impact on his like desire to have his knees together. You know what I mean? Like coming back to like subconsciously. That would be my guess, because he really, I wouldn't doubt that he like tied his knees together to make sure that he was like riding with his proper style. You know, he really wanted that knee together. Was that just him, or was everybody kind of knee together style?
no, it was him, but it was a lot of people who looked at him and how graceful his style was and how graceful he looked riding like that. But you know, when I came over too, I saw like tons of different styles. You know, Noah style, Brushy style, Palmer style, Kilbehe style. Bert Lamar I actually saw a year before he came to Sweden for a contest. I was 14 then. Was able to qualify as 8th and went into the final head-to-head against Bert Lamar.
What?
He was on a look promo tour.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then the year after at the US Open, that was the second time I saw him. Yeah.
So whose style appealed to you? Like, or did you always want to do your own thing?
Well, I didn't see so many styles in the beginning, and then I saw Craig live because he came to Norway.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely like, wow, it's that far. Like, that's how deep you sit, you know? Because I was always looking at the Norwegian guys, and they were good. But when I saw Craig, I'm like, whoa, he's almost like his ass hanging on the snow. But then, yeah, remember Duck Boy gave me some shit because he meant for a while that I was like half Brushy and half Kelly, or more like, well, let's say it was probably Kelly first and half Brushy.
Yeah.
But it was like, I think I was just starting to grow then, and I didn't really care about any style. I just rode the way I rode.
Right.
And he used to call me CB.
Kelly Brushy.
Yeah, but I didn't get it
Craig
in the beginning,
Brush.
you know, like.
That was like they were.
That was
him
in
having-
91, you know.
That's incredible. So you're like a kid at this point. You're 16 or 15.
Yeah, 16.
Yeah, Keith is one of those guys who, when I go back and watch footage of him, I'm really bummed that he doesn't still snowboard. You know, he telemarks now.
Yeah, I know some people who do that.
Yeah. And he just, I think for him it was spoiled that he was at the hill before there were a bunch of snowboarders. And it's hard for him to go up and see the chaos and be like, pay for the lift ticket and do the
Yeah, I
thing.
kind of get that, but like, I cross-country ski, I know how to telemark, and I know, like, it's just, when you have powder, how can you ride a different tool than a snowboard?
Yeah, man.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
It doesn't
totally.
matter how like, good you are on telemarks. It doesn't float.
So did Craig come up to you directly, or did he talk to somebody and say, like, that kid, like, I want him to come over to the United States? Or did he come up to you and go, like, dude, do you want to go places with snowboarding? Come with me.
No. No, well, I met him in Norway. He was on a world tour for his Burton things. And he just came out with the movie Smoot Groove. And Burton came out with the movie Chill.
Right.
I think, yeah. And I got to ride with him on this glacier in Norway called Uvas, and then we made up like a small quarter pipe. It was like there was a guy that from a magazine was going to interview him, take pictures, and I rode with Einar Loftus, Åsils Loftus brother that was like top 16 in the freestyle. And we did a session, and I'm like, Einar was going big too. He was like the guy who was like always looking up because he sent it free riding and in the pipe. And you know, Craig didn't like. He went big a few times, you know, but he was more like the smooth and the stylish one. And at this little quarter pipe too, I remember like Einar and me, we went bigger than him, but Craig just had like all the smooth hand plants and, you know, just the approach and the style, you know, that we didn't have.
Right.
I saw, and then I think after that session, he told Burton that he wants, I don't know, should check me out or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you should send boards to this kid. Make sure this guy...
Yeah, I was on the Burton Norwegian team. So,
Right.
It was more like I got invited down to... Burton used to have these national camps.
Yeah.
For all the different team riders from the countries.
And so when you go to that, does Craig come up to you at that point and go like, oh, hey, it's you. Cool.
No. No, I remember being at that talent camp or whatever with the whole team, and then Europe didn't have any really Burton freestylers either, so they were looking for somebody. And yeah, they wanted to sign a contract with me before I did any contest.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. The only thing I could think of was like, oh, I probably won't have to go to school next year. And seriously, and it took me, because I got it before I started doing the Euro Cup and the World Cup in St. Moritz, and then the US Open and the Worlds, and I didn't sign the contract. I just had it in my bag for a couple of months. And after I did pretty well at Breckenridge and stuff, they're like, I remember actually like they're really pissed. You really got to sign that contract. And I was actually trying to get one teacher to help me translate it. There was just so many foreign words. She just kind of gave up to him, like, you should better get a lawyer.
That's absolutely incredible.
I didn't get a lawyer. I just signed it.
You just signed it. That's amazing. Yeah, see, Jacoby got offered some contract and he turned it down. That's what he talked about on his episode, was that he turned it down because he was like thinking about going to college or whatever. But Burton was going like, why does this guy keep turning it down? He must have offers from other guys. So they kept upping the money. And he was like, but I already turned it down. And then eventually his dad was like, they're offering you a lot of money. You know, you can always go to college later. You should probably do this. And so he finally signed the contract. He probably got paid double what he should have. But I think also, like, for some people, overselling yourself, then you have to work that hard to catch up and be like, you know, he really took it seriously to become a freestyler because he thought that would be, you know, pretty valuable, even though he had no background really in, you know, like skateboarding or gymnastics or anything. He was really, you know,
but you don't need any background in skateboarding or gymnastics.
Yeah, no, that's true at that time. Did you ever get hassled for not being like a full-on skater by like the real, you know, like Rankwit's a legitimate skater. He could have been a pro skater.
No, I never not at all.
Really? Oh, that's good.
But it's funny though, because like some of the California snowboarders was like, yeah, man, skating style and like, but I always thought like skateboarding was just really way more hardcore than snowboarding and everything. But like when I look at some of the early skateboarding from the 80s too, they had like skateboard teams all in the uniforms, and they were like more jocks than snowboarding ever was in the 90s.
Right.
So I don't know like where they get that from and why like that was so cool.
Oh, I don't know.
But I think like when skateboarding started booming in the US, suddenly like they were just turning into what the other sports were, with the teams and their, you know, definitely was like Team Alva and people who separated themselves.
Right.
Of course, but at the same time there was also all these jocks. skate jocks.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and then you have that in snowboarding too. Different backgrounds, different whatever, but that's just the way I grew up. But like, yeah.
Seems like some of the skate guys, like a Cardiel or like, would come in and just be like, "Oh, this is easy." Like I know Danny Way had a pro model at one point, and I don't think it's because he fell in love with snowboarding. I think he was like, "This could add another paycheck to my group of paychecks." I know that seeing Sluggo, Rob Boyce, up at Cyprus, he was on the world team during the like hype of that world team, and he was, he's pretty vocal about like, "This is another paycheck, man. Snowboarding's easy. You're strapped in,
Yeah.
So I think
it's true. You're strapped in, and it's easier, and you can do radical things. But there's not a lot of other sports. I think it's pretty dull where you can do hard things. I just don't like the style.
Right.
But, yeah.
Yeah, Rankwood talked about getting to Alaska maybe the first time, and there was like a moment where he and Craig talked and were like, Craig was like, "This is what snowboarding is." You know what I mean? Like skateboarding is its own thing, and snowboarding can take tricks from skateboarding and try and be like skateboarding, but skateboarding's not going to be like Big Mountain Alaska ever. You're not bombing a technical line on a skateboard,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's like you have different elements in snowboarding, I think. It's just separate. Like you definitely have to ride a board more than you ride a skateboard. Skateboarding is progressing, and they have all kind of parks where you actually have to ride the skateboard more too. But in general, it's like, like you just said, go into big mountains and ride the board. It rides a little different. Yes, you have straps, but you can take the straps off too.
Yeah. Have you done some snowboarding?
Yeah, well, we call it pow surfing.
Yeah, right.
But, yeah. If the terrain is boring, it's the best option to do, take the straps off.
Right.
Same for, like, groomers and small parks, too. I think it's, it's like, there's a lot of good skateboarders that snowboard now. I mean, opposite. There's a lot of good snowboarders that skateboard good. And, but they still ride the little scooter parks with their snowboards.
Right.
So it's like, I don't get it, because it's like, for me, like I said, I know how skiing feels. I know how, like, I like mini shred too, but it's like mini shred is like something you just get do end of the run, or it's something not you just go and just do just because you want to do it. Like, for me, it's like, but everybody has a different way to challenge themselves or pleasure. It's another thing too. It's like, it's not like they're not doing hard, difficult things. It's just the way it looks.
Right.
They have kickers up to the rails, and a lot of us is just one line and forward, or
and there's people that take
4 floors to the flat. Or,
yeah.
So it's like, but like, I don't know, whatever rocks their boat, but it's like, what I think is just, and I also like what it's the same time, now you just post so many things, and before, like, obviously we had to wait through the season and develop the film and stuff, but now it's just like a lot of shit edits comes out, like, even butt checks,
You're seeing butt checks
in movies the last 5-6 years, or maybe like, fuck, we did a butt check then, like there was just a bad producer, like you film with the wrong company. If you film with Hatchet or Dogger or whatever, you would never have a butt check in like the movie. Like that would be occasionally really rare or fuck up.
Sure.
And he would give you shit. Oh no, you're kind of stoked on it, but then you butt checked, and he would just tell you straight up, like, no, you butt checked, that's not gonna get used. And now you just see them. Like
yeah, well, there's so much content now. Like,
but like that's what I mean. It's too much content. Why use a butt check?
Yeah, right. Speaking of like social media, you posted about your contract, being happy that you signed another contract with Burton, and I was like, that was the first time I ever thought Terje could be on another team. Like, because you could, if you wanted, you could jump ship at any time. But it's like, I always see like you came up on Burton. Burton supported you for so long. How could they let you go? You know, that's how I felt. And seeing that post, it sounded like you were maybe almost a little frustrated with how difficult it is to nail down a contract from a company that you've been working with so long.
Yeah, I think there's a little ups and downs with that. And like, I remember getting proposed to like a retirement contract when I was like 35 or something.
Wow.
But that was not about Jake or Donna. It was just the team manager at that time.
Right.
Well, that team manager at that time, we didn't really have a good connection. And yeah, and I just had to tell him, well, I'm not really retiring yet because I'm going to still ride like my body feels good. So, but it's more like, you know, like I couldn't be more lucky with the sponsor because they never really told me what to do. I always just make sure I did something. And yeah, there's never been any pressure. There's always been like a just good backer for whatever I want to do. And
do you think that's because...
And the thing too is that if they have to get fired, it's kind of like you have to respect that there's their money and their risk.
Right.
And that's a lot of people forget that when they do get fired from certain companies or let go. That is especially private owned companies. Yeah, they're the one who's paying for it. They're the one who's risking it. So you have to just respect the fact they paid me for a lot of years. Thank you. You know, so it's... And yeah, I don't even know if I late in the career you just want to jump ship, but like when you have a, I don't know, like lucky to have a good sponsor and let's see what you've done and see what you could still do. So definitely privileged on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember hearing Craig on the chairlift told me that Jake said to him personally, like, you're on Burton for life. You know what I mean? And Craig was pivotal with Burton becoming the freestyle company and becoming the world leader in snowboards for sure. But you were really close on the heels, like still in that Burton dominance of contest time and like where, you know, Burton was like 80% of the market or something at that point. Did you ever have that kind of a handshake or, you know, verbal deal with Jake where he was like, dude, you're set for life?
Half your company is yours, man. No, I don't think you really need to say it either, you know.
Right.
But I think he said it. Like, as long as I snowboard, he will always back me.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's really important.
I
like,
remember he saying that.
I think that it's easy to like despise or be mad at the one at the top. You know what I mean? And Burton's been at the top for so long that at one point or other, most people either have always been a Burton guy or have always hated on Burton or you know what I mean? And everything that I hear about Jake is positive, that he's just like a really he's like the right person to run the biggest snowboard company when he was running it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's still pretty involved though. Like, it's amazing to see how much drive he still has for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really cool to see, you know, after all his personal hurdles he had with health and stuff, but still after these years, and then just how, you know, generous he gives a lot of people opportunities. A lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people probably doesn't give him any value back. He gives opportunities to.
That's rad.
Yeah, and you can see I just actually talked about it with Moss Johnson about that. You know, you just see him. Yeah, give a lot of people opportunities. Doesn't really have to do.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. Have you? I've recently realized that the Burton thing that pissed me off the most was the 3D pattern, and not like coming up with a universal pattern that everybody could have. And I was always like, that's kind of a dick move. But now that everybody's got Apple products and Apple is like, it's like a winning strategy. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very good way to make money for sure.
Well, when the treaty, it was just a good system.
Sure.
So obviously somebody else talked about the 4-hole system.
Yeah.
That was like another...
That was Harry Guns.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But, you know, they made sure people can use it on the 4-hole pattern too.
Right, but you couldn't use other bindings really on Burton boards, you know what I mean?
No, but why would you?
I don't know. There are some other companies that made some pretty good bindings over the years. Anyways,
Yeah.
you know what? It was just one of those things that for me, I was like, he did, you know, there were rumors that he was going to sue people for using 3D, you know, like charge of money. People just didn't like the idea that he was going to monetize certain things,
Yeah.
which it comes from that fact that he was at the top, you know what I mean?
Mm.
But he's also having to make business decisions because he's got a lot of people that are relying on him to be the boss that makes the company money.
Yeah, and I think, you know what people forget too? Like, okay, he was, you know, Burton was a big part of the market and this dude, but no other company has promoted snowboarding as much as they have.
Not even close.
You know, and a lot of the times they're not there to promote Burton, they were just promote snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
That benefits everybody from snowboarding. A lot.
Yeah, that's
Big
true.
commercials, big things they've been doing. And
Yeah, like he personally went around
Yeah.
to resorts and was like, this is what a snowboard is.
yeah, but it's also like TV deals and pushing. There's so many different factors that they've been pushing snowboarding and not just Burton that everybody's been benefiting from. So
Yeah.
yeah,
As I've grown older, I've come to respect the company and him a lot more. I think it's easy when you're a kid to just hate on everybody and forget like, you know, that your boss is working really hard. You know what I mean? Like that's the main thing in North America is you have a job and you look up at the people ahead of you and you go like, what the fuck do they even do? Like I could do that, but really no, you couldn't because you don't even know what they do, you know? So yeah, thanks Jake, really from the bottom of my heart.
and Donna, she's been doing it
Donna, yeah.
insane years this last 10 years. Yeah, stepping up a lot of things, the good parts of the company, especially sustainability, without even like mentioning it or using it as a marketing tool.
Right. I
Yeah.
think that's another thing that gets mentioned from time to time is like, well, if they're doing the sustainability thing, or how can they support Terje and the Olympics, right? Who made the clothes for the Olympics?
Yeah.
Burton made the clothes for the Olympics.
Yeah,
So.
and like people, it's almost like this, you know, certain people, or this one journalist, I don't even remember his name, but he's calling me out like a drunk uncle, because I was calling his comment, like, I have this conversation with him, but you know what, they tell me if they wouldn't make the Burton uniforms for the Olympic team, somebody else would. And it might be like Spider or like the guys at Norway. If I would have ridden for Norway, I had to ride like a Japanese clothing company.
Right.
Like a Japanese skiing clothing company. So it's like, you know, I get, you know, both things to them, and they totally agree with me, but, you know, as a business thing, and just to let somebody else, you know, take that spot, you know, instead of like snowboarding, a company that is doing snowboarding.
Right.
So,
You mentioned that journalist. That was one of the worst pieces of snowboard rhetoric. It was like in the vein of like Fox News.
yeah,
or
I
something.
definitely hit a thing because I called out journalists not taking it seriously and doing investigation in how IOC and FIS stole snowboarding. They used to have on their webpage how they just changed history, that they kind of made the competition scene, and
It's weird.
and there's no like, I told other guys too, it's like, isn't it, you know, like, you're a part of building up a sport in the 80s and 90s, and then you just see some other group just come and take over and just don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was just calling them out on, and obviously he got sensitive, so he wrote some shit about me.
Yeah. I think he saw an opportunity to write a kind of like critical piece in a voice that you hear a lot in the United States right now, like just like a real kind of bashing kind of shit without he didn't have any intention of like getting in touch with you and fact checking, or you know what I mean? It was just like, hey, we could get lots of clicks with this kind of like clickbaity headline or whatever. When I read it, I was like, oh, that's such garbage. Because, yeah, like, I mean, myself with the podcast, I don't count myself in the snowboard media, which maybe I should, but when I talked to Burton, and he was there at that meeting, where basically it was either the head of the IOC or it was the head of FIS. I think it was the head of FIS. Just said, like, hey, man, I'll pay for this meal. Let's just have a nice meal. Snowboarding is not yours anymore. We will kill the ISF and it's done. There's no talking about it. So enjoy your meal. And that's that, you know? Like, so it's there. You can find out the story. It's very easy. Birdie is accessible. But, yeah, it's, I don't know, not journalists, but magazines have advertisements that, I don't know, they're not, they've never really been journalists, you know what I mean? Like, snowboarding is kind of like...
No, there's some guys who had, like, backgrounds as journalists and whatever, but, like, I don't know, like, if you're a group of weak people or just sheeps, you know, you just follow it, like, and it's funny to see because after 20 years with the Olympics, the prize money is all-time low.
Right.
You know, like, especially for those events.
Snowboarders...
You can compare the price, like, I think we had better in the 90s.
Right.
And I think the highest purse is still from 98.
That's incredible. Right? Like, that's some serious shit right there. That's like...
I think, yeah, one of the park shapers in Locks Resort told me too. It was after FIS took over that spot because they came in with, you know, their media money from other things, and Ståle, I think he complained to one of the shapers, like, whoa, is the prize money so bad now? And the guy just told him, well, you're FIS now. You decided that.
Wow.
And yeah, you guys decided.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Hasn't snowboarding kind of always a little bit been that? Like, there's a little bit of a, you know, like, we're so excited to be accepted. I think that's the thing. That's what I would say. Is like, when you think about Tom Burt and Craig doing the Wrigley Gum commercial, Wrigley Gum has nothing to do with snowboarding. Nothing. Zero. But those commercials at that time, they had like a water ski one. They had like a, you know, they were kind of going these fringe sports. And just to have something on TV, to see yourself on TV, it was like a big deal. You know what I mean? I feel like we've kind of always had this thing where we didn't realize, like, nobody took the time to look at, you know, legitimate sports or whatever, the NBC Wide World of Sports. Like, what were the stories of those sports before? Like, were there people that were into them just to be into them, that enjoyed them, you know, with integrity, and then, you know, everybody sold out at a certain point to make it so that you could have the NBA or that you could have, you know, World Cup soccer?
Yeah, so you know how, like, the Ski Federation stole...
I know.
I just got some new ones because it just happens again. It happened in skateboarding.
Yes. You
know how the different whatever has to, like, be the governing body, whatever.
Of course.
There's no, like, joint, you know, working together or... You know, but
right.
Now it happened to the parkour guys. So the parkour, from what I heard, is like, I don't know, some French-based, some guy who kind of just built up this new sport or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And now the Gymnastic Federation is going to take over and be the governing body. It's the same thing, you know. Somebody else builds up the sport, and then there's IOC with their national power, because like they try to put you in national categories because they have more control over you. Right. But there's some interesting laws popping up. European Union has the law like you can't provide anybody else to get work if they don't have work. And you know how IOC says that you can't do another contest before the games are over and a week after, whatever.
Sure.
But if you do that, you're actually stopping the person to have work. So
right.
you can actually go and do that. Instead of them being locked out for a month and a half,
Right.
And then it really fucks with the snowboard calendar because nobody wants to put an event at that time because they know they're not going to get all the good guys.
Right, totally.
So it really messes up the industry that year, the qualification year, and the Olympic year.
I think hockey's similar, right? I've heard hockey is complaining about...
Well, hockey didn't send the NHL players last time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, here we are talking about the Olympics again, but it's it's interesting stuff. Like,
but it's the same thing as like,
do you think it came from that accept us kind of mentality that we had in the beginning, where it was like there were certain resorts. I mean, are there still resorts now, like Vail or some place, Aspen, where you can't snowboard, where it's skiing only?
I think there is Texas and Utah.
Yeah, because those that was really in the beginning. There were lots of places or at our home mountain you could only ride.
But look at this though, like a lot of places I can't snow skate.
Yeah, right.
So discriminating. Seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they won't. Yeah, they won't let snow skates on the lift. A lot of places, and it's just because they don't understand it. They think the boards are going to go shooting and hit people.
Yeah, that could probably happen if you don't wear a leash.
Right. So remember the whole leash days? Like we had that on snowboarding.
I shouldn't be talking though, because when I go small places, I don't wear a leash. But
really.
Anyways, but speaking so much good stuff about Baker, but Baker doesn't allow snow skating.
No, they do, don't they?
Certain runs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because they had snow bikes up there years and years and years ago. I can't imagine them. But whatever. Hey, what about this? This is just something I talked with Gwen about this year. Would you be stoked if they called the switch race at the bank slalom, the Hawk? I think they should. You were the first one to do it. That was fucking badass. It came through the industry like word of mouth. That wasn't something that was written in a magazine or that we saw in a video. It was like, holy fuck, Terje did the fucking race backwards and beat like 99% of the people. Or did you win it backwards? You qualified first.
No, let's get this story straight.
Yeah, please. Please.
No, it was, I had a good lead from the first qualification day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at the start gate. And I don't know if it was Gwen or Amy, but they told me, you should go switch. You should go fakie. I'm like, really? And then I was just in the gate. I'm like, yeah, I'm already qualified. I'll try it. So I did the second qualification run, fakie. And I didn't win the race fakie, but I got the fourth best time on that one. And I beat you, Andy Hetzel, fakie.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
But yeah, that story got blown out of proportion.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I just told you won it switch or whatever. But I think that's the right thing to do. I think she's thinking about it. Call it the Hawk or something. I said you should call it the Hawk, and she's like, it's too on the nose. Let's call it the Hawk. But that would be dope if they did that, yeah. Because now it's a big thing. Like at the end of the race, everybody does it, yeah.
No. So after all these years, I don't think we tried it a couple times. But then I think we were just like after the race with them, it'll be probably just a few people like, hey, can we drop in switch? Can we do the fakie? And I don't know, they just wanted to close down the course as fast as possible. So,
for liability.
So I think just Rob came up with the idea that he asked if you can do it, and then I'm like, oh well, then we gotta have the gatekeepers to be there longer. So everybody who wants to do it got to pay $10, I think.
Yep.
So whoever wanted to do the fake race, just show up right when the last guy come down. Pay $10 and
how many people did it last year? 50 or something.
I don't know, but then they changed it because I missed out one year because it was too much to do it on a Sunday because they really want to close down. So they do the switch race now. Fuck, I can't believe I'm calling this switch race. They're doing the fakie race right now. On Saturdays.
Right, after everything.
Yeah, so
you missed it.
I didn't. No, not last year, but like 1 year I did, cause
that's fucked up.
No, that's all right. I probably did some other good fun shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one contest where you've got all this time to go free riding. A lot of times it's really good conditions there.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts
It's good
of
if you didn't
there.
like do so good in the main race. This could be like, it's been my constellation prize a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go ride and enjoy Mount Baker. Sick. Where do you stay when you're there? Do you go to Russell's place?
Russell has a place there?
No, I mean, like, that's pretty far. Like, do you guys commute from...
No, Baker, always different. Sometimes I stay in Bellingham when Jake Blauvelt lived down there. A couple of times we had an RV up at the parking lot.
Nice.
Sometimes we rent a condo.
Yeah.
Yeah, all different places.
That's a fun one. You've won that like 7 times, yeah? That's insane. It's crazy when you look at the list of people who've won it. Like, really, really... This new guy that keeps winning it. He's Kelly Joe's roommate.
Oh, yeah.
Harry. Yeah.
Yeah, Harry's solid. Yeah, like, it used to be, obviously... In the beginning, for me, to go, like, be a lot easier to win them. But, like, at the same time, I was like, oh, I got this year. And then I will do one mistake on that one run. And that'll be enough to not win it. Or, like, I hit the powder in the last gate or hit a little bump. And you maybe, like, you qualified first. You had the fast time the whole day. So you can just, like, ride it down. But at the same time, like, you still got to ride it. And then I think, you know, the competition has always been tighter. But... It's been, there's a couple of guys who could have won it more than the one time they've only been there. Like Xavier Delarue. You know, he's a heavy, good bordercross rider. And he can turn too. You know, like a lot of bordercross riders haven't done that good, or it would take them years to do good. I remember the Norwegian bordercross team came there, and I don't think anybody got to the final.
Wow.
But then you have other border crossers that have the experience, and it's a little different, you know. It's tighter turns, and but yeah, like obviously, it's like it's definitely not easy to win. A couple of years ago, it was what's his name? Forgot that again. But like he was riding a 154.
Holy shit.
And I think Seth Westcott got second or third, you know, and he's just on a huge board, and he's a huge guy. Yeah. And you can just see how the course can be like, you don't have to be that big, huge guy. It's pretty technical.
Right.
When Josh won last year, too, it's just like super tight board, but just the cleanest line, and yeah. That's
rad. Yeah, Temple's won it a bunch of times. He used to come up and do border cross. When that was a thing, there was like a Kokanee cross or something, and he was pretty unbeatable. He was really, I remember seeing those guys waxing their boards between runs up in the parking lot and being like, "Ooh, they're taking it very seriously."
Well, it's seriously, but it's like, do you want to win, or do you like what? How serious? Like, what do you mean? Well, I always go like, oh, you're taking this too serious. Like, come on. You want like, and you know, it's a full kind of thing to say too. It's like, yeah, I was just stoked to be here to ride with my friends, but I'm not pissed at all. I got second or third, you know. But obviously, you know, you're allowed to say that. Fuck, I wish I won, or fuck, like it was close, you know, or you know, you're allowed to say that too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've never gone... See, that's the thing. I talked to you about it before. You're like, you should come to Baker. And I'm like, dude, I'm just not a competition guy. Like, I find it very difficult to enjoy myself if I know that I got a run coming up where I've got to perform. You know, I've always been the guy that's, like, goofing around instead. You know what I mean? Or taking drugs. Like, taking a bunch of drugs at the place with everybody and being like, woo, this is a lot of fun. But I'm not going to win because I'm on mushrooms or whatever. But you have to think about the things that you say, because you get under attack because of the fact you're an influencer, right? And you have been for a really fucking long time. Like before they even had that name, before they had that label of people. Like, were you conscious of that when you were a kid? that people would buy the shit that you were riding, hoping to become better snowboarders just by emulating like the way you rode, the things you rode?
Yeah, like that's how we involved, you know.
Mm-hmm.
First, you know, you see them in the videos, look up to them, and then next time you're doing contests together with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same for all the people who came after us.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing happened to them.
Right.
Some people use contests as a gate just to be sponsored free rider.
Sure.
You know, just to get in the limelight and get sponsors, and then they can do what they have passion for.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was smart that way. Some other guys got stuck in the contest scene and didn't really tap into all the other good and fun factors or elements of snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, what did you really ask about?
Fuck, I don't know, man. I just want to talk. Oh, the influencer thing.
Yeah, the influencer. And then, like, obviously, like, now it's like, you know, where there's, you know, everybody's in the hypocrite kind of way, you know, but it's so obvious, you know. I always tell people, like, well, it's a difference between shaking the devil's hand and blowing him. It's a difference, okay?
Right.
So, you know, like, when you have Protect My Winters, this and that, and then you have beer commercials or energy commercial in that part, or you're a tree hugger. So I get into those conversations with someone, you're always so negative. I'm like, no, it's the truth. I'm sorry the truth is so negative, but it's like, don't be so fucking hypocrite. Like, choose a side. I get it. Like, embrace your, like, whatever is your career.
Right.
Say it, but don't try to fucking say something else.
Right.
So,
yeah, you've always been a guy that kind of knows what's going on. Like you.
Oh, it's all logical, you know. Like,
yeah.
people are like, well, you like, they're so young now. I'm like, dude, no. When I did MTV Sports, it was 1994. I was young too.
Yeah,
I said exactly the same things.
Yeah. Yeah, people forget Tony Hawk was like 12 or 13 when he started blowing up. Danny Way was a little kid. Remember, like, those guys were children. So yeah, it's always, that's a weird thing about action sports, not just anything like gymnastics or whatever. My cousin went to the Olympics for gymnastics, which is insane. She had to like train her whole life. You know, it takes a lot of dedication. You need parents that are backing you up, and that's where we're at with snowboarding now. You're not going to just see somebody who was, you know, a factory worker until they were in their 30s, and then they said, "Oh, I tried this snowboard thing, and I made the Olympic team. That's fun."
Well, you kind of can though.
You think?
Well, I've seen it. That's what people like flip passport nationalities.
Oh,
right,
show. Right.
You know, they just get on the loophole to get their Olympic glory.
Got it.
You know, maybe get like a cereal brand in their home country. No, seriously, it's like, yeah, it was a good. That one skier that's dropped in the pipe who probably never dropped in the pipe ever before.
Wow.
You have movies about it. You have the Jamaican bobsled team. You have Edit Eagle. Yeah, it's like,
yeah.
It's bullshit.
Okay,
it's bullshit. Okay.
right. I think I'm talking about the people that could actually win. That there's not any of them that haven't been dedicated to the sport for a really long time.
Mm.
It seems like you look at a guy. Well, you must know Shaun White fairly well. Do you guys ever talk about? You ever like guide that guy and be like?
We tried to guide him a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Try to give him all the credit for what he could have done for the sport, but
yeah,
I don't know if it was his consultants or whatever. But he definitely just had his path for doing his selling scooters and
Target and all that stuff,
and embracing the Olympics, embracing the FIS. And now he just sold his contest to the FIS. So it's just like, yeah. No, I got no passion for that guy. He's a good snowboarder. And
yeah.
That, but
when you guys sit across the table, do you guys like lock eyes sometimes, and you just like give him
No.
Does he avoid you though? Like,
I don't know. You have to ask him.
Right. Yeah, because he, like, I mean, if you were another generation later, you would have made. Do you think you would have been able to make the same choices you've been able to make because I'm sure he's just getting pulled in every direction. Like he's a rock star.
Yeah, but it does though. But it's also like so many of his interviews is just like he's done it a lot. He got some learnings, you know. It's just so like this just sounds fake,
right?
And like he didn't really like. He doesn't embrace snowboarding like he doesn't seem like he like it, you know.
Right.
I've seen his documentary. I see what he does, and you know, nobody's gonna take away from that his talent on the board, you know.
He is very talented, right?
He could have done a lot more cool things for other people in the snowboard sport,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people did. You know, we used to have him around as a mascot,
right?
You know,
because he's a little kid.
Yeah,
yeah.
If I knew he was going to turn out to be that guy, I would never have a mascot.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I was surprised today riding with you guys on the hill how nice you are. I saw you push like a girl who was stuck on the flats, like just to get her to over the hump where she could just ski away. That's a
tactic.
Yeah, but I saw you with guys too. So, you love snowboarding. It's obvious when I see you snowboard. It's crazy. It's awesome, and it's. I really appreciate the integrity you've had over the years in promoting snowboarding. We couldn't have had a better ambassador. You know, thanks for how many years you've been out in the public eye doing it too. It's got to be difficult because you're not like some super extroverted person. Did you ever have trouble with that? With just being like, especially in those mid-90s to 2000s where it was like everybody's coming up to you everywhere that you go and wants a picture with you or wants an autograph or wants to talk, like wants to ask you something about, like what I'm doing right now. Like,
yeah, I think I just had different views at it because it comes really natural and easy if you have good questions, somebody actually knows about the sport talking to you. Mm-hmm. And I did get like, you know, some recognition in Norway in the beginning, but all the journalists, you know, they were just retarded. They would write about like the clothing you're wearing or the prize money or the parties we had, or
right.
It would never be about the sport. That never like other sports actually write about the sports, who was leading after the first and who was having a good day, and it would never ever be it. So I just stopped talking to them. Yeah. And there's a lot of other like. Then I just got like, you know, when you do want to talk, I want to like share my knowledge about the sport or what I think about the sport, nothing else really. And so then if you shut down journalists, then you like I was getting a couple other guys sensitive not too long ago, and then they just write whatever they want to because
right.
they have their platform and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be a lot more powerful before too, because it was less, we didn't have our own platforms.
Right.
Now it's like you can like tweet out the next day like, hey, I didn't say that, or like,
right.
like,
yeah,
I was not political correct, I'm sorry. No, we don't do that though.
Yeah. Unreal, man. It makes me very happy that we have a few ambassadors that made it through that are, you know, legitimate icons of the sport. You and Jamie, and Gooch is now back with Travis, kind of, you know.
But there's a lot of like snowboard souls that are still in the business and doing shit for snowboarding.
Yeah.
And a different stage and a different level, you know.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
You know, people who organize contests or do parks or even, you know, just doing, you know, like exploring with new equipment. And so like you have a lot of good ambassadors on all different kind of levels, I think. You know, it's like, of course there's guys who's had a name and like you were mentioning, like Jamie and Gooch and way more other Devon and
oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, a bunch of other, like, you know, we're not like completely alone, so it's good to see, and it's good to see that some of our sponsors do take care of some of the older guys. Like you can see it more in like skateboarding too, you know, I think they have more like master class, and they're bringing it a little tighter together and you know, keeping some of that history. That's cool to see.
Yeah.
I think even like maybe surfing is even better doing that than skateboarding too.
I agree with you there.
But snowboarding, I don't know. But there's good things. There's a lot of good things. And then I was just taking the bus up to the hill today, shuttle, and me and Nick was like, "Do you just notice like every single guy went in this bus snowboards? There's one skier in the bus, and we were like 30 people in the bus. That was pretty amazing."
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, because sometimes you go to another resort and it'll be like opposite. But it should be like, because I noticed in Norway, because you know, like twin tip, and like you can get like that. It's kind of like when you pick up an easy video game and you have fun right off the bat, and it's fun for a while.
Yeah.
And if it's too difficult, you kind of put it away. That's how kind of like board sport against skiing, I would say. Like you can just master right away, just so you have fun, and then most of your friends, and you end up doing it. But then after a while, it doesn't really challenge you, or you can't float in the powder the same way.
Right.
So you can see the twin tip definitely like took over some of the snowboarders. You know, like you can see the same in the skateboard parks. You know, some kid can have fun on the scooters in first minute.
Yeah.
Can't do that on the skateboard.
No, God.
You have to like, but you get a lot. Yeah, that's my thoughts about it. But you get more rewarded after, you know, after you master something that is a little more finesse and a little more technical. Looks better too, I think.
Yeah. I think that was the big thing for skiing versus snowboarding. And in powder, you just cannot make. I mean, people make skiing look good. Why would you ever when there's a snowboard there? It's just a completely different sport. Not a sport. It's just a completely different thing to do.
Yeah, it's a different roller coaster.
Yeah. All right, Terje, thanks. I'll let you get to bed, man. It's
okay, cool.
Super late.
Yeah,
that went really well. Thanks for doing that, man. FNRad shout-outs this week to all the listeners who made my trip to interview Terje possible by buying tickets to the Wired Snowboards raffle and by going to the Kazoo premiere at Fortune Sound Club that we had earlier on in the season. I want to name a few of these guys that have been reaching out and giving me kick-ass messages of encouragement. Daniel Ecker, Jay Fitzgerald, Josh Long, Alan Russell, who rides like every fucking day of the year. That guy's insane. Colin Knoppers, Alex West, Adam O'Connor, Craig Dexter, Cal Goodman, Ted Zimmers, Mark Duran, Rob Solo, and Fam Duck Son. Alright, you guys, there's many more of you that reach out. So if you didn't hear your name this week, you probably will sometime soon. Alright, make sure you come back next week for another episode of the FNRad Snowboarding Podcast, brought to you by SIA Productions.